After the last US election, people are really curious about how they can financially secure their futures, not only for themselves, but for their families. And there's a lot of speculation out there. The market is doing well, right? Now that we've elected President Donald Trump. Also, he's president elect for 2025. But there's just a lot of concerns around what is going to happen financially for people. And so, as you know, I'm an advocate for economic growth globally, and Brics is something that I've been paying a lot of attention to. And so, in this video, we're going to talk about the high value investments you can potentially make if you decide to invest in South Africa, as well as real estate investments, how you can strategically invest to gain wealth and protect your wealth for your family and legacies beyond. So welcome to the channel. We're running a little bit behind because we're busy. We're preparing for the Travel Move Do Business virtual conference. All of our guest speakers are ecstatic. I've gotten so many emails from our guests that are attending. And listen, you're going to get your links by the end of the day. You're going to get your bonuses, and you're going to get so much value from our conversation today. So you should be joining us at the Travel Move Do Business virtual conference. I'm Ashley. I am the host of the Travel Move Do Business conference for South Africa, and also the founder and creator of Ashley in Africa. And on this channel, I share my experience of living, moving, and doing business on the continent. And I'm currently in the beautiful city of Johannesburg, South Africa. So we're going to get into it. But first, I want to welcome our special guest, Yulinda Lebisi Cousins. She is an attorney and founder of Lebisi Cousins Attorneys, Inc., which is a law firm specializing in property law, property ownership transfers, business establishment, estate planning, and visa applications. She's the co-founder of Skyline Attorney Realtors. And at Skyline Attorney Realtors, Yulinda helps successful entrepreneurs and investors secure luxury real estate in South Africa by integrating tax and estate planning. Her clients trust her as a leading property advisor, and due to her ability to remove frustration, anxiety, and uncertainty from real estate transactions using her prestige framework. Yes, welcome to the conversation, Yulinda. Let me find her. Here we go. There she is.
Yay! Thank you.
Welcome.
Ashley, for an amazing welcome. I'm here in
Fantastic.
the office.
The office is familiar. People recognize that office maybe from some of the content that we've shot there. Welcome, Yulinda. How's
Thank
your
you.
week been? It's been
My
a week,
week
hey?
has been busy, Ashley. Oh my goodness. I just, finished a consultation now with a client who's from Portugal who just bought property in Clifton that we are attending, to the transfer of. And yeah, we've just been doing all of those things like the whole week, advising clients on their property transactions and doing meetings. And yeah, it's been crazy busy, but we love it. That's what we are here to do, to be busy and help our clients.
That's what we're here to do. And so thank you so much for joining, as well as just, everything. We talk all the time. So this is not new, right? But thank you so much for adding your expertise, your guidance for the Travel Move Do Business virtual conference. I want you to jump in because, as you mentioned, you are an expert in property law, and people ask so many questions around investing in real estate. We have a question right now. How can I buy if I live in New York? How do people get access to real estate if they
Yeah.
have an interest in investing in real estate and they're foreigners? What is that process like?
You know what? Those are the types of questions I love to answer. I want the person to know that it's absolutely possible to buy from wherever you are, and you do not even need to have a visa to invest in property here in South Africa. So what you do is with the help of an agency that is obviously reputable, like Skyline, you will find the property that you are looking for, and you can do the virtual viewings. You can do whatever it takes to make sure you are familiar with the property. But what I normally advise clients who are not in the country is, when you are looking into buying property, make sure that you get an inspection done. So you pay a fee to get a professional inspector to do an inspection on the property, so that you can be sure that there are no defects, especially latent defects that can end up costing you a lot of money. But back to the basics, the simple passport, valid passport, that's all you need as proof of identity. And then you also need your proof of address, and it can be proof of address from, your American address, and we would be able to help you facilitate the process. And yeah, we will sign what we call an offer to purchase here in South Africa. It details, that's after you found the property, of course. It will detail the type of property you've bought, and the purchase price, how big it is. So we are aware, even when we conduct deed searches, to make sure, and that's part of our due diligence for all our buyers that we work with. We check to make sure that the person that you are buying from really is the owner of the property. We help you, when we say we help you buy property with tax and estate plan integration, we literally will tell you the implications of putting your name on that offer, the tax and estate planning implications, and we will advise you, give you enough information so you know what to put on the offer, so that you don't make yourself liable for unnecessary tax. But yeah, it's very easy to buy in South Africa. All you need is just to have your passport and your proof of address, and you get the process started. And of course, there's financing and all those other things that, if Ashley, wants to address, we can just get into.
Yes, well, I do want to save some of that for later in the conversation, but I shared something, and thank you for sharing that, because there's a lot of misconceptions around and buying real estate, and you can do that as a
Yeah,
foreigner, and you don't need a resident permit.
yeah,
But one of the reasons why I talk so much about real estate in South Africa from a lens of tourism-driven real estate is that South Africa saw an increase. In about 7% tourism rates. And this is not even for the entire year. They're projected to see 15% increase since 2023, right? So South Africa welcomed 5.8 million tourists this year. And when you look at the continent as a whole, there is an increase in tourism happening. So investments in this new world that we're living in, I personally am an advocate for real estate, but specifically tourism driven real estate on the continent of Africa, as we're seeing tourism rates rise, right?
yeah,
And I know that that is a bit controversial, I think, for some people, but when we're looking at diversifying your portfolio, creating assets that are going to obviously see returns is a big deal, but how do we create sustainable investments with that, Yolanda? I mean, you are based in Cape Town, right? You are seeing the increase in tourism. You're seeing the tourism grow. What does that look like? Because this is the other thing, right? A lot of people don't know there's so much underdeveloped space to
yeah.
develop tourism driven assets, right? So we're not saying go in and like monopolize certain areas. Actually, we're talking about opportunity to develop throughout the country of South
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah, yeah. No, there's absolutely a lot of opportunities, and quite lucrative for anyone looking to, even earn an income from real estate development. I mean, it's as simple as, putting a team in place, and fortunately, there's always, a room to work with a company where they can put together, architects, construction people, get everything done, so you can, buy a piece of land, build on that piece of land, and we get it registered at the deeds in your name, and it can be done in a company, so that, you can be able to earn an income that will also, when you have expenses, you can have deductions. So there's quite a number of opportunities there. Absolutely.
Wonderful. What are so let's also take a step back. So for people that are not familiar with Brics, which is the most influential economic community that exists today, right? They represent over 50% of the GDP, almost nearly 50% of the population, and it's skyrocketing. And more African countries are joining the Brics community. South Africa is the S in Brics. And my hypothesis is that with the new presidential regime in the US, and presidential regime is kind of these kind of oxymoron words that may not go together or may go together. I believe that the economy of South Africa is going to see robust growth because of that.
Yeah.
The alliance and the production that is coming out of this country, I think the people of South Africa are going to see growth. They're going to see their currency become a lot stronger. And for people that own real estate, they're going to see just increase in equity. What are some of the things, I think you, Linda, that you can talk about in just property law that you're seeing as far as some trends and some developments that you've seen directly in the markets of, let's say, Cape Town and Johannesburg?
We are seeing a lot of people buying, especially after the elections. I don't know what's happening, but I also showed you a message that I received on LinkedIn. And that was not the only message from a client that I have in America that asked me to help him look for property and also help him with the due diligence. So even the person that I just signed documents with now is from Portugal, and I mean, has nothing to do with America. But he was saying he's now, this is the time to buy real estate in South Africa. It's quite lucrative. And when he compared the currencies, obviously looking at where he comes from and the rand, he felt like it was quite affordable. So yeah, I've been seeing a lot of sales going on, and that's what has been keeping us busy even recently, and predominantly from the US. Yeah, funny enough, but I mean that's because of, I think, the results of the election, because yeah, the message, like I said, that I was telling you about, the potential client or the client of mine said to me, hey, I'm embarrassed about what's happening in my country. Remember we spoke last time, please can you assist me with finding that property, because it seems like I may need to make the move sooner rather than later. So yeah, that's what's happening now. And I think the rent being as weak as it is also adding, contributing to people feeling like it's the right time to invest. So yeah, that's what I've been seeing, a lot of more buyers entering the space.
So, agreed, right? So when I
Mhm.
have conversations with people, I let them know it is a buyer's market,
Yeah,
especially if you're a foreign investor in South
yeah.
Africa. And whether that's new construction, pre-construction, renovations, there's just a lot of opportunity
Mm,
to look at long-term investments in the U.S. Excuse me, in South Africa, especially from people coming from the U.S. What are some of the challenges, right, or some of the kind of common misconceptions that people have and that you see as an attorney kind of coming in to support their transactions? What are some of the most common mistakes you see people making when they decide to
mm.
invest in real estate in South
There's
Africa
quite
from
a lot.
abroad?
There's quite a lot of mistakes I see. So people are normally so excited when they see properties, because there's a lot of beautiful properties here in the Western Cape and in Johannesburg. Most of our American clients love the Johannesburg area. So what will happen is they see a lot of properties that they like, and they jump and make the offer. There has been a recent trend as well with developers where they create this reservation agreement, and they say you need to pay, a certain percentage so that you can reserve. You're not buying the property, but you're reserving it so that they don't sell it to someone else. But the money that you pay is going to be used towards the deposit when you are ready to buy the property. Now, that most of the clients that I've assisted, they don't read, some of the terms and conditions in these agreements, and it ends up not going very well when they find out that certain things that they should have maybe paid more attention to were not, considered during the signing process. So I see people making mistakes in terms of not understanding the clauses in the contract, the implications of those clauses, the time frames that they are given to comply with the terms, like payment of the deposit, payment of the purchase price, the balance of the purchase price, and also not understanding the transfer process and how long it can take, and the documents that are required, and your passports, your proof of funds, that if you are buying using an investment, the bank actually needs proof. And if you are paying a deposit, you must make sure that you are sure about that property you're buying, because reversing the money is a bit of a hassle, and it needs to be made into the same account that was used to pay. So I've seen a few people make those mistakes, and it's unfortunate when I work with them after it's too late, and it's only too late when the offer is signed. And of course, we now have to navigate our way around how we can, help the client in that situation. I say it's too late because it's signed, but there's obviously always the court process if, parties are not reaching, an agreement, and we also help them with the negotiation. But what I prefer is to prevent those things from happening, and that is done through the due diligence. So if you make sure that when you are buying property, before you pay your money, you know who you are buying the property from, you know the size of the property, you know that there are no encumbrances or anything that is restricting the transfer of that property into your name that can potentially take very long. The normal time frame for transferring property in South Africa is up to 3 months. It can happen quicker, but it can also take way long if the necessary checks were not conducted before you signed the offer. Now, the nice thing about how we do things, the proactive approach we take, is we have checklists that I can even share with some of your, the people that follow you on YouTube and on social media. And that will give them an idea of what they need to have in place when they are buying property, so that they can avoid the frustration, the stress, and the anxiety that comes with not knowing what to expect and being told you didn't comply. And also, over and above that, we can also hold their hand if they decide to work with us, where we actually do everything for them, and we literally tell them from start to finish, this is what you need to put together, this is how you need to complete this. And yeah, it makes the process very easy for people who do not want the stress that comes with buying property when you don't know what you are doing.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that the attendees that are coming to the Travel Move Do Business virtual conference, they are going to get those checklists, right? But checklists are great and they're good to know, but it's even better to have a peace of mind working with experts that do this from front to back, right? Like I'm an advocate for that. Most of everything that I share on this channel, I tell people, right, like invest your time and energy in working with somebody that's an expert, or else you're going to spend more money and more time getting it wrong. And especially when you're coming to a new country, as similar as it may feel, as similar as it may look to your home country, it's not the same. So doing things the wrong way are going to cost you in the long run. So yes, thank you so much for offering that up. Premium access holders will get that checklist directly from Skyline Attorney Realtors. But then obviously the incentive and the advantage of working with one of our agents at Skyline is you have a peace of mind of knowing that there is someone holding your hand throughout the entire process, that knows the legal frameworks, that knows the regulatory environment of property in South Africa, and that also knows how to maximize your gain, whether that's in the purchase price, whether that's in the clauses to, that are going to be for your benefit as a buyer, and then, hopefully securing a timeline that works best for you and your family. So there is a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of misconception about purchasing land, purchasing property as a
Yeah.
foreigner. I think there's just a lot of conversations on YouTube about that, and every country is different, right?
Yeah.
There are 54 countries, totally different regulatory environments. What happens in one country does not happen necessarily in the next country. And so when we talk about property ownership in South Africa for foreigners, what does that look like? What is that framework like? What are the protections? Are they different for a foreigner versus a native South African? Can you talk a little bit more about that to dispel any myths about about what people may think happens to foreigners when they purchase land or property in South Africa?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the most exciting thing for non-residents or foreigners when they buy property in South Africa is to know that they are not treated differently. When you are buying property, whether as a citizen or as a non-resident or a foreigner, you are going to go through the same process. You have to give your FICA, that is your proof of identity, your proof of address. We also have to do the same when we buy property. The purchase price that for the property that was advertised is exactly what you're expected to pay. The type of tax that is payable when you are acquiring property called transfer duty is the same for non-residents, foreigners, as it is for citizens. So it is measured not using the person, but using a sliding scale, which is looking at the value of the property. And the more expensive the property you are buying is, the more transfer duty you are going to pay. But also you get to enjoy, obviously, luxury property if that's what you are buying. Yeah, all the processes, the transfer process happens the same for residents or citizens as it does for non-residents. So there's nothing really different. What I would advise people do when they are interested in buying is to make sure that they understand, like I said, the tax and estate planning implications, because I found that with some clients, when they are buying, they just put the property without, questioning the intention of, the intended use of the property. If it's an investment property, you're buying more than one, it shouldn't be in your personal name. Of course, there is a benefit to having your first property, if you're going to live in it and not earn an income, in your personal name, because then you get to enjoy the capital gains exemption, which only kicks in when you sell that property, but it has to be your primary residence. Now, talking to investors, obviously that is not going to be the case. And the property is going to be earning an income. So what you want to do is you want to detach yourself from the entity that is holding the property, so that the tax implications that falls on the property does not touch on your personal income. And you can also, over and above that, enjoy the tax benefits and exemptions and deductions that come with having your property in the right structure. Now, when it comes to putting that structure in place, it's not a complicated process at all when you are working with the right people who have done it before. So what you need to do is speak to somebody that understands the process. They will help you set up a company. In our country, they make it so easy for investors to come and invest. So you can even buy property in a company that's yet to be established. But there is a certain way we frame, the wording on the offer papers to say that you are buying in a company that's yet to be established. while we are busy with the process of helping you establish that company so that the transfer of ownership can happen into that company. So, yeah, these are some of the things. There's quite a lot. I mean, there's different types of taxes. I cannot cover all of them here, but transfer duty, capital gains, they have, their triggers. When you sell or when you buy, you pay tax, or when you earn an income, you pay tax on that property. So it would be nice that if you are planning on having it as an investment, you put it in a structure like a company. And we can even further, go deeper and say, if you have a company, it would be even better to have a trust that owns the shares in the company so that you can create perpetuity. So when you pass on, your estate plan is in place and your property can continue supporting your loved ones without there being a need for transfers. Because obviously with a company, when you are the shareholder and you pass away, your shares have to be valued and transferred, and that does not create a legacy. So there are many options, and depending on where you are, we will give you what you need. We'll customize it.
Yes, Yolanda, you better give them that tax strategy. So I hope you have your notes. It looks like some people are saying your audio has a bit of an echo. Is it better? If it's better, if the audio is better, please put a one in the chat. Or if you're saying, if you are also experiencing challenges with the audio, please put a 2 in the chat. Please let us know. We want to make sure you can hear. We want to make sure the audio is the best possible. Thank you, Coena, for saying so. Let me know. I don't see any comments yet, but I don't want us to continue on. Okay, so it's better. All right, so everyone is saying it's better. I think even maybe when you're talking, I'll just go on mute to avoid any kind of background.
Yeah.
But yes, fantastic. So I hope I hope you all were taking notes, because there is so much advantage in uh, knowing how to properly invest, even as a South African, right? Like how to properly invest in real estate, especially, I have friends that have multiple properties and they have all of them in their name, right? And they're just not doing it right. And I'm not saying I am the expert. I know when I had my property back in the US, my last property, it was owned in my business. And to your point, it exempted me from property gains. And then any challenges that went on, it protected me personally. I was no longer liable. But these things are really important. I think the trust is really important, especially for people that move abroad, because for a lot of us, especially those that are pioneering or, be going against the grain, we may not have family that is like very, ready to come. Like I do have some clients and friends where their families are here, their brothers, their sisters. It takes time for some of them, but especially if you are kind of the pioneer in your family and you're coming ahead of everyone else, being able to securely hold an asset in a trust is a game changer, right? So the advantage of not just working with any agent, no shade to Remax or Pam Golding or any of those firms that are great. The gaps that Yolanda saw when creating Skyline Attorney Realtors were that there were gaps. Realtors, their focus is to sell you property and to get their commission.
Yeah.
Their focus isn't making sure that the inspection is in your favor. Their focus isn't making sure that the timeline is, fast or short. Like for them, fast is ideal because they get their commission the quicker the property is transferred, right? But the advantage of working with an attorney firm is you get all of that handled from beginning to end, right? So you're gonna understand the legalities, the ramifications, the tax protections that you can get access to, how you can properly structure that purchase, so many things, as Yolanda said, which she'll be sharing more at the Travel Move Do Business virtual conference. So let me know if you're finding value in this stream. We have 45 people. We should definitely have at least 40 likes. Let me go through and see if there are any questions. Fantastic. Ronald says he'll be in South Africa next week for the Real South Africa property tour. They were on the channel yesterday. Ronald, I will be at the opening reception, so I'll definitely meet you there. You're going to see amazing property with the Real South Africa property tour. But in the event that you need additional consultation, absolutely you'll be able to connect with you, Linda, who will be able to advise you further to just ensure that you're getting the best uh the best bang for your buck, right? All right, wonderful. What else? What else are we missing? So we're about 30 minutes into the stream. There's going to be a lot of value shared. Not only is Yolanda leading a talk where she's going to present her prestige framework, which is her unique framework that she walks clients through. She's going to be having a private one-on-one Q&A with premium access pass holders. And we're also going to talk about our partnership within Skyline Attorney Realtors and why we decided to go in partnership together, as well as what that looks like for other investors coming into South Africa to establish businesses, whether it's in tourism, whether it's in real estate, or all of the things in between. I talk a lot about those things specifically just based on my investment risk and what I'm seeing as somebody that studies economics, that is really interested in it, but also sees the promise in the growth that's happening in South Africa. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Yolanda? You're, I guess, coming from law, right? Coming from some of the, practicing and being a huge leader working in governments and then also in the private sector. What motivated you to start Skyline Attorney Realtors? And do what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. A lot motivated me. So just to give a little bit of a background, I started my career as a legislative linguist. And that's where I was in, the Chief State Law Advisor's office, and we were exposed to a lot of legislation. And I fell in love with the law. And so that's how I actually studied for my law degree while working full time there. And then I ended up in big law, without even having applied. I ended up working in one of the biggest global law firm in the country, and I worked in real estate. So that's how I knew as an attorney, after having been, rotated into a litigation department and then having moved from there to real estate, I realized that I'm not the lawyer who's supposed to be running to court. I love property. This is a lucrative space, and I want to facilitate the transactions, that have to do with property. So yeah, it became very apparent fast as soon as I entered the department that this is something that I was going to do for a long time, because yeah, I love it. Property is my passion. And so yeah, when I worked there, I realized that I could do all of the things that were required to be done in the department myself, and so it inspired me to start Libisi Cousins Attorneys, which is a property law firm. We also do notarial work and other things like you mentioned in the beginning. But then the reason I started Skyline Attorney Realtors was really because it was for many reasons, but it was mainly because my clients, mostly international clients, would come to me with their offers to purchase, and before they sign, they would say, "Yolanda, please review and strike out anything that is not favorable for me, and include conditions that will be beneficial and protect my interest in general." And so I used to do that a lot. And it got to a point where, some clients who would be buying luxury real estate, they would come to me and ask me to go with them to view the property. And of course, the properties in the 20 million, 26 million, I would go with them. And I realized that I was actually doing the work of a realtor while earning the salary of a lawyer. I might as well just merge the two and give my clients the solution they were looking for, because they were coming back to me. They kept on coming back for a reason. So it means they loved and appreciated what I was giving them. So that's how I started Skyline Attorney Realtors. And also in South Africa, the real estate industry is quite monopolized. It's highly, populated with white old males, and yeah, there's not a lot of people like me in the luxury real estate space. So for me, I was solving my own problems because you need to work alongside realtors so that you can have transactions that you are working on to assist your clients. But if the majority of the realtors are the opposite color, they are white, they obviously taking the work to people they prefer. And so for me, instead of feeling sorry for myself, I'm a problem solver. I decided I'm just gonna create a luxury real estate. There are clients that wanna work with me. There's a lot of them actually, and I'm just gonna create a comprehensive property solution for them. So when they get to our office, they get everything from due diligence to signing until transfer. And they've loved it ever since I did that. So that is what motivated me to start Skyline. And yeah, and I suppose with the prestige framework, just to add to that, I didn't like how I was seeing more people, responding to problems or situations that had to do with you haven't complied with this, you haven't done that. And for me, my ideal type of client is a client that is not stressed, but when they are stressed, I do whatever it takes to help them, remove the stress. And I'll give you an example, maybe just for your viewers. One of the common things that happen is when people are buying from a foreign country, they tend to trust the person that's helping them, as you should, like a realtor. And I had a client, actually two, a couple that was in Germany. They were buying luxury real estate in Val d'Avi, an estate here in the Western Cape. And, they listened to the agent who told them, this is what's going to be the fees because the seller is a vet vendor. You're not going to pay transfer duty. So transfer duty, like I said, is a type of tax. And the realtor, who is not a qualified attorney, was literally telling them something that only a property attorney should be telling them. And she made a mistake. I don't know if it was a mistake or if she misled them, but they were misled into buying property thinking there is no transfer duty, a type of tax that is paid when you are buying from a vet vendor, because the agent actually lied to them, that there was no transfer duty. And they came to me showing me screenshots of the messages from the agents, a breakdown of the fees, showing zero for transfer duty. And, they didn't almost, they lost about 1 million. So it was 800,000 um, in transfer duty, because when the conveyancer was doing the transfer, they asked for transfer duty to be paid and the transfer fees, and they were shocked. So that's how they approached me. They wanted me to come up with a solution because they wanted their money back. But guess what? It was too late, because in our law, the buyer has the responsibility to pay tax for their purchase, and you cannot say that somebody told me that I should not worry about it because it's your responsibility as a buyer. But when you are dealing with a lawyer, we have a higher standard of care that is required of us when we are serving our clients. And I am not allowed to give you incorrect advice. Otherwise, I will be struck off the roll and I'm not going to be allowed to practice. So you have the confidence when you are dealing with a lawyer that if I tell you you're not going to pay transfer duty, I will also give you a statement of account. I'll give you a financial analysis of the whole deal and a breakdown on a letterhead, with my law firm, with Skyline Attorney Realtors, showing you that this is how much you're paying. This is not what you're going to pay, and you can trust that. So that's also part of the due diligence, and it's on your part as the buyer to make sure that you do that, so you don't come to a firm like ours, in a position of, my clients who had to consult with me and also risk losing more money to get your money, which they didn't end up getting because, they also had a duty of care to make sure they do the right thing. So the best they could do was report the agent to the PPRA. That's the authority that regulates realtors in our country. But how is that going to help you get your money when you haven't followed the right steps? So yeah, I think that's why I'm passionate about helping people prevent that scenario.
That's a big one, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one. And, you know, I cannot stress it enough. It is why I created the Africa Investors Academy. It's why we have events like this for Travel Move Do Business or the Investor Summit, because there's a lot of misinformation. And at the end of the day, like, some people just want to get paid, whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in the US, whether you're in Ghana, whether you're in Tanzania, right? People want to get paid. And so it is of the highest uh, care to always employ an attorney.
Yeah.
Always, always.
And
And
I
then
just,
even
and I
still,
just want to add, Ashley, just to dispel the myths, it was a white realtor who misled the client. So there you have it. So yeah.
there you thank you for clarifying. Hello, but it's true. It doesn't matter where you are. You could fall into these pitfalls anywhere in the world, right? But employing a lawyer and then also doing your due diligence on other attorneys, right? My other attorney advisor in Tanzania, she's very conservative, just like you, and she'll always say, "Listen, ask a few people, ask about me and then ask a few people. If you Google Yulinda Labisi Cousins, attorneys on, if you Google her, 5 stars. Okay. Like, nothing but 5 stars. You won't see any scams or whatever. Like, go ahead, Google her. She's public. The firm is public. And she does not work with everyone. Right. So that's also the thing. She is not knocking down doors for clients. Clients are coming to her, and they're coming because of her expertise, because of her diligence, and because of the relationships that she's built in law and the risks she's willing to take by doing this work, doing it with a level of excellence in a space that traditionally had people that didn't look like her. So I just want to celebrate you and give you your flowers. And I know you are going to bring so much value and expertise this weekend. Can you give a little bit of insight into the things that you're going to talk about this weekend at the Travel Move Do Business virtual conference?
Yes, I'm gonna definitely be talking all things property, property law, compliance, your checklist, how to prepare yourself so that you can have a seamless transaction, how to introduce funds because it's different there when you are paying with money that is outside the country. There are extra regulatory requirements from the South African Reserve Bank. So I will be covering all of those things, including the prestige framework and how we use it to help our clients so they can ensure that their transactions are seamless. And also you will learn about the different types of properties that you can buy when you are buying in a sectional title. That's a block of flat where there's multiple units and you own, a share in that. And I will also talk about when you are buying a freestanding property. And I will also talk about when you want to create something from scratch. So, maybe like a property investment club and you want to club together, pull the resources and then have, property that is constructed from scratch. So I'm going to be covering all of those things and covering the requirements and what you need to know to make it as seamless as possible.
Absolutely. And one of the things that she didn't say is financing or funding in country, right? So foreigners are allowed to get access to
Yeah.
funds based on their financial position. And Yulinda will be going through that and what you should prepare for in your ability if you have a desire to secure funds this side, right? So you may be a cash buyer, but how can you leverage that cash to purchase multiple properties with the support of South Africa banks? So thank you so much, Yulinda.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for joining us. I will see you this weekend. And if you would like to work directly with Yulinda, her contact information will be in the description as well. You can visit skylineattorneyrealtors.co.za for all of your luxury South African property purchases. Thank you. I'll see you this weekend.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Amazing. So much value shared. Listen, I want to jump a little bit more into the Brics conversation. I know we talked a little bit about that so far, but there are some things that we didn't talk about. So let's just talk about some misconceptions, right? Brics is not a ticker on the stock exchange where you can buy shares into Brics, right? And if people understand really what Brics goal is not to, you know, deplete the dollar. The goal is for Brics countries to be able to develop without having to use the US dollar. So for people that understand trade and the development of nations over the past several decades, as the global reserve currency, in order to trade commodities and goods, any country has had to do so with the use of US dollar. And it has basically kept the USD at a very higher level than most developing nations. But with Brics coming into the picture as an economic group, what they are doing is saying we want countries that have different benefits, right? That have different commodities, that have different access points for the benefit of this community of developing countries. And we are going to create a payment system that is separate from the SWIFT system, which is a system of exchanging US dollars. Okay. And how do you invest in that? Well, you do that by divesting from US dollar products, right? Or transactions. And I can't necessarily tell you exactly how that looks. I can tell you how I am doing that. And I'm going to share my personal investment strategy in the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference for premium access holders, that one-on-one session with you, Linda. I'm going to talk about how we are collectively as business owners investing in the development of South Africa and the development of other African countries that are entering into the Brics economic group. Okay, and so the one thing that I can share is if you are invested in digital currency, right? You are already investing in the Brics system. Digital currencies are things that are going to grow, right? Whether you understand it, whether you trust it, whether you believe it's true, it's happening. And the best way to get involved is to educate yourself more on what exactly is happening. So essentially, when these developing countries employ a new payment system, what that means is there's going to be a lot more dollars in the market. And the more dollars you have, essentially the price of the dollar will decline. And so for people in the US, they will continue to see an increase in the price of goods. The cost of living is going to continue to go up because there will be no shortage of dollars, right? The US has printed so much money over the last few years that it is essentially going to make it so that the cost of living, the cost of goods, are just going to continue to rise because their trading power with other developing nations, you know, is going to go down. Now with the election, this is likely going to happen slowly because the relationships that President Donald Trump has with these foreign countries, you know, is a lot stronger than our previous administration. But who knows exactly what this will look like? My hypothesis is that if you're investing globally, you're going to see growth. If you are focused on investing domestically, as Americans or G7 countries, you are going to see a bit of stagnation, right? So how do you diversify? Well, get educated, join communities like the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference, read, get educated, listen to content that talks about what Brics has to come. Anything that is focused on fear or focused on scarcity essentially is going to become a slave of that, right? And so my goal is that I share content and information that you're not used to hearing, right? Because that's how we advance, that's how we move forward, but do your research, right? I am not the guru. I am just a guide sharing my experience and the things that I am doing. And I'm doing so with people that have an interest in learning and not necessarily are looking to be convinced, right? So if you're looking to be convinced, this platform, this content is not for you. But if you're intrigued, you're curious, and you've got something in the back of your head saying, I need to diversify, I need to look at options, well, then this community is exactly for you. So thank you to all of you that have joined the conference or joined the live today. If you have an interest in joining us this weekend, tomorrow, November 16th and 17th at the Travel Move Do Business Virtual Conference, the link is here. Go to africainvestorsacademy.com. As I mentioned, you are going to want to be in the premium access rooms. That's where a lot of the Q&As are going to happen. And we cannot wait to see you this weekend. For those of you that have already registered, you're going to get so many emails from me over the next 6-7 hours. I'm probably going to send you the same email a few times to make sure you have your access links. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave comments below. I'll do my best to respond to them. And I will see you in the next video. And I'll see you at the Travel Move Do Business Virtual Conference for South Africa this weekend. All right. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you online this weekend.